صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع ذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. وضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم إن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذوا من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعنب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننقص في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينظر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي ينشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي يجعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وأن عليا ولي الله عليه الصلاة والسلام. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة. قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربنا. الله أكبر. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. سبحان الله والحمد لله. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبلا والحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعظائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة ورضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وأن عليا حجة الله صلوات وسلامه عليه. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربنا. الله أكبر. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته وارفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. سبحان الله والحمد لله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. سبحان الله والحمد لله. سبحان الله والحمد لله. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. إلهي عظم الذنب من عبدك فليحسن العفو من عندك يا كريم. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه.
اللهم إني أسألك اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي فعجلوا في طلبه البلدان فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران لا أدري في سهل هو أم في جبل أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله واجعل يا ربي رزقك لي واسعا ومطلبه سهلا وما أخذه قريبا ولا تؤنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله وجد على عبدك بفضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم.
Salawat. حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد شهيد الحسين Salams on the head of my Mawla Hussein. Salams on the lips of my blessed Hussein. For days in the desert your body remained. With thousands of arrows your shroud they became. And on Arba'in where the millions will pray, the grief and the mourning for you, Ya Hussein. The screams of the children thirsty for water. The duty was sent to Abbas, our Savior. The Lion of God couldn't be seen riding faster to reach Al-Furat and to please his Sakina. But how does he fall from the horse with no hands? The flag of Islam laying bare on the sand. A lady was seen peering out from the tent, a cry from the heavens that Zahra presents. Oh shimmer, why on his chest the sword stained in blood was Hussein's final test. Hussein, to your mother it's time to ascend. Your trials in Karbala have come to an end. Sakina would cry every night for her father, and Zainab would cradle Hussein's little daughter. But when they presented his head on a platter, Sakina could not bear to live any longer, and no one could comfort or soothe young Sakina. She died in the prison with Zainab besides her. Hussein al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shahid, Shahid al-Hussein, Hussein al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shahid, Shahid al-Hussein. Salawat.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sayyid Hasan, Rizvi, respected elders, dearest brothers and sisters, Iman, Assalamu alaikum, Jamia wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for all marhumin listed on the screen as well as all other marhumin. Surah Al-Mubarak al-Fatiha. Dua Shfa Mary's is requested for all those in need here and elsewhere, as well as those listed on the screen. Let us recite together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. Ya Allah. Let us now invite Sayyid Hasan Rizvi to please come forward for tonight's Majlis. Wa Muhammad wa Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام التحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight we commemorate the Shahadah of the beloved daughter of our 7th Imam, the sister of the 8th Imam, someone blessed with the title of Masuma and Karima of Ahlul Bayt, Sayyida Fatimat al-Ma'asuma Yaqum, alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. It's rare for, in our communities that we celebrate or commemorate the anniversaries of the non-ma'asumin, meaning the non-14 ma'asumin. Some of the personalities that are associated with Karbala get added as an exception, like Hadrat Abbas, for example, or Muslim ibn Aqil. But if you look at the rest of our calendar, we have many great companions and ulama and scholars. We don't have special days reserved for them, right? There's many companions that we could take time out to celebrate their walada, but we don't, right? We don't have a day for Abu Dhar or Salman or Miqdad. We have their dates when they were born and when they died, but we don't commemorate those. There's many other, female companions as well, wives and daughters associated with the Ahlul Bayt that were given and granted great titles, great scholars of Islam, right? Many things, but we don't set out and honor them on a specific date either. I mean, we probably don't even know who they are to begin with. What is it about Sayyida Masuma alayhi salam that sets her apart from everybody else? Because you might say, okay, you know what, we have some other individuals that we do commemorate and we celebrate, but there still seems to be something exceptional about Sayyida Masuma, right? Even just in terms of somebody wanting to perform her ziyarah, they have to make a specific effort to go there. Yes, normally when people go to Iran for tour groups, they usually do make a stop in Qum. That's true. But the main sort of quote-unquote attraction is when people go to Mashhad, right, for the 8th Imam. When you go pretty much anywhere else, right, Najaf, it's very clear who you're going to see. In Karbala, right, the main thing is obviously Imam Hussein, but Abbas is right across from him too, and all the other Shuhada and companions are pretty much in the area. Had they been somewhere else, there's a good chance that we may not have spent so much time going and visiting them. As an example, most of you know about this idea of the Imam Zadehs or Imam Zadas, right? All these other companions, those who gave their lives, right? Members of the Ahlul Bayt, some companions, friends, those who are related, Bani Hashim, etc., who are buried all throughout the kind of Islamic or Muslim lands. How often do we go and, make it something to go and go visit them? Usually we don't. There are some exceptions. For example, Shah Abdul Azim, who's buried in Tehran. I'm sure many of you have done his ziyarat as well. You have somebody like that who's mentioned specifically in the riwayat, right? That according to many of the members of the Ahlul Bayt, that performing his ziyarah makes Jannah wajib. Right? Like how can we have personalities like this that we go, we visit, I don't know, maybe we know a few pieces of trivia here or there. But if I were to ask the average Shia, even about Shah Abdul Azim, did they even know the fact that in riwayat that his ziyarah, according to the Ahlul Bayt, makes Jannah wajib on us? Most of us probably wouldn't even know that. Do we know what made him so famous, what made him such a great companion? Maybe not, maybe, who knows? But for somebody like, say, the Masuma alayhi salam, it's much more important that we figure this out. There's something very, very important and exceptional about her that no other family member and no other companion, and again, I'm saying outside of the 14 Ma'sumin, no one else has these qualities that she does. And it's important that we try our best to recognize these as best as we can. And we've tried to do this, every year when we commemorate her Shahadat. We've offered, little insights into her life, right? Some parts of her biography, some things like that. But tonight, I want to examine something a bit different that we may not have done so before. But I just want to remind us of the station that she has been given, the fact that even her birth, the maqam and daraja that she has, was prophesied by the Imams before she was even born. So I'll share, for example, the famous hadith from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. He's reported to have said, Inna lillah harama, wa huwa Makkah. Allah has a haram, a sanctuary. And what is that? It's Makkah. Wa li rasulihi harama, wa huwa al-Madina. And his Rasul has a sanctuary and a haram as well. And where is that? That's Medina. وَلِأَمِيرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ حَرَمَ وَهُوَ الْكُوفَةِ. And for Amir al-Mu'mineen, he has a haram, a sanctuary as well, and that's Kufa. So we're not talking about the places that they're buried, obviously, right? This is talking about a city that they held dear to them, right? Which is kind of their headquarters, so to speak. وَلَنَا حَرَمَ وَهُوَ قُمْ. And for us, the other members of the Ahlul Bayt, we have this haram and sanctuary as well, and it's in Qum. Now, to this day, right, the 6th Imam is narrating this. What do the Shias, the Muslims, what do they have to do with Qum? Yeah, you had some odd, a few scholars coming out from there. I don't want to go into the history. Okay, you had something, but why in the world, if we were there around this time of the 6th Imam and he said this, okay, Medina we understand, Makkah we understand, Kufa we understand, where is Qum coming from? It seemed kind of strange. Then he explains that this is a prophecy. سَتُدْفَنُ فِيهِ إِمْرَأَةٌ مِّنْ وُلْدِ. That soon a woman, a female from amongst our children, from amongst my children, will be buried there. تُسَمَّى فَاطِمَةٌ. And she will be named, her name will be Fatima. مَنْ زَارَهَا وَجَبَتْ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. Whoever performs their ziyarah, Jannah is wajib for her. And this, now you might say, okay, maybe the 6th Imam, after he's looking after the 7th Imam, right, his son, maybe some prophecies coming based on that. But the person who's narrating this says that this thing, هذا الكلام منه قبل أن يولد الكاظم, that this prophecy of the 6th Imam was even before Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was born. So imagine, a non-ma'asum, again, forget that her title has been given as ma'asuma, somebody who's not part of the 14 ma'asumin, is being prophesied as this blessed birth blessed burial, and is putting the Ahlul Bayt on the map in Qum because of that. Right? There's something here definitely that we're missing. Right? We hear all these titles and how amazing she is, right? Her knowledge and her kerama and all these things. But what specifically is she actually bringing? Like, what qualities does she actually have that is actually giving her this sort of maqam and status? A few things that we want to go through tonight. We'll be focusing the idea of how she is a defender of wilaya. And how is that? Let me explain after salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A defender of wilaya. The wilaya of the Ahlul Bayt. What does that mean to be a defender of the wilaya of the Ahlul Bayt? Right? It takes many different meanings. And say the Masuma herself defended it and upheld it and manifested it in many ways. There's only maybe one or two ways that we'll focus on for tonight. One of the most outstanding and obvious ways is the fact that she was a narrator of riwayat herself. Just like many of the other ladies who are part of the Ahlul Bayt, she was somebody that was also narrating riwayat. But there's a difference. And inshallah, after we go through, maybe we'll do maybe three riwayat. See if you can figure it out yourself what it could be, or at least think about it, and maybe the idea might come to you. So the first one that we will bring to you, and I'm going to mention the chain of narration generally, not the whole thing, but the parts that are significant for us to the point we're trying to make. And I think you'll understand as we're mentioning it. So this hadith starts off, حدثنا فاطمة وزينب وأم كلثوم بنات موسى بن جعفر. That Fatima, yani Bibi Masuma, Zainab, and Kulthum. These are three daughters of Imam Musa al-Kadhib, right? So three daughters. This person is saying all three of them have narrated the same thing. But the person who's doing this saying, I'm taking this narration from Bibi Masuma specifically, right? قلنا, and all of them said, حدثنا فاطمة بنت جعفر ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. The daughter of Imam Sadiq, he had a daughter named Fatima. So all of these daughters of Imam al-Kadhim are narrating from the daughter of Imam Sadiq, right? Then حدثني Fatima bint Muhammad ibn Ali, a daughter of Imam Baqir, who was also named Fatima. That's who they're narrating from, and it keeps going, back and back. حدثني Fatima bint Ali ibn Hussein. The fourth Imam Sajjad had a daughter named Fatima, narrating from there. حدثني Fatima was Sakina ibn Hussein ibn Ali. Both the daughter Fatima and Sakina, we're narrating from them as well. So this is how the chain is continuing from Imam Hussein. And Kulthum bint Fatima bint Nabi. And this is coming from Kulthum, the daughter of Sayyida Fatima Zahra, the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Kulthum is obviously narrating this from Bibi Fatima. And what did Bibi Fatima narrate here? أنسيتم قول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يوم غدير قم. Have you forgotten the words of Rasulullah on the day of Ghadir Qum? Man kuntu mawla fa'aliyan mawla. That these words of whoever I'm master of, then Ali is their mawla and master as well. Anta minni bimanzilati Harun bin Musa, and that famous hadith of manzila. And also that Imam Ali to Rasulullah is just like Harun was to Musa. So this same famous sort of hadith of Ghadir was translated through almost like this pure female line of narrators. Every single one of them except for Kulthum, right? Being Fatima after Fatima after Fatima after Fatima until it reaches the daughters of Imam al-Kadhim, one of them of course being Bibi Masuma. So she's carrying on this legacy of continually narrating the story of Ghadir to everybody, which I don't have to tell you all, you'll know very well how important it was generation after generation to remind the Muslims of what happened in Ghadir, right? Because even right after the fact, even if they remembered it, the value of that seemed to have left the Muslims, right? Even though they gave their bay'ah. So this is one way she is standing up and defending wilaya, by making sure at least the information about Ghadir is continuing on amongst the Muslims of that time. And we can imagine, yes, there are plenty of male narrators who are mentioning in their crowds, no doubt. But now, when she is sitting there amongst all the other Muslimas and the mu'minat and the women in that era, she is now narrating this all to them as well too, right? It's not just the men and women all sitting around learning the same thing, right? Typically, there were separate gatherings for all of these types of things. Right? We know very well, for example, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam had been teaching the women of her time. Right? They famously say tafsir of Quran that she had learned from Amir al-Mu'mineen and Bibi Fatima. So we see the same thing with Bibi Masuma. In whatever gatherings that she happened to be a part of, she'd be mentioning a narration like this. Let me share one more. This is from basically the same chain, but this one again comes back to, eventually it goes back to Bibi Fatima Zahra alayhi salatu wassalam. Who says that she's saying, Bibi Fatima, I heard from my father Rasulullah, who said, when I went to Mi'raj, right, when he ascended to the higher dimensions, I entered Jannah. There I saw a palace made of white pearls. The door of that palace was decorated with pearls and rubies. And on that door was a curtain. A curtain was hanging from that door. I raised my head, again, this is Rasulullah in Mi'raj. I raised my head towards it and I saw what was written on that door. It said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliyul Qawm. Normally we've heard of Wasi Rasulullah and things like that. This is Waliyul Qawm, that Ali is the wali of the community, all the people, things like that. So the wording is a bit different when you go higher in Mi'raj. And then Rasulullah, in this narration, again as being told by Bibi Fatima, eventually making its way to Masuma and Qum, Rasulullah then says, I looked at that curtain to see what was written on the curtain itself. He just read what was on the door, what's on the curtain. And it said, Bakhin, Bakhin. Right, we've heard those words before, who knows where that came from. Bakhin, Bakhin, man mithlo shi'ati Ali. Like, Bakhin, Bakhin, like almost like, oh wow, like congratulations almost. Who are like the Shia of Ali? Meaning there's no one else like the Shia of Ali. Right? This is what's written on that curtain that Rasulullah had seen. Then Rasulullah says, I entered the palace. In it, I saw a castle made of red aqiq. It had a door of silver decorated with green topaz, and on that door was another curtain that was hanging. I raised up my head and I saw written on that door, Muhammadun Rasulullah, Aliyun Wasiyul Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So, this is the second narration that Bibi Masuma is narrating amongst all the women that she is in contact with. So the first was just a historical thing about the Wilayah of Ghadir, reminding people about that. But now you see, she says, look, this is not just some historical matter, right, as some people make it out to be. It wasn't Rasulullah just saying, yeah, I'm going to pick my son-in-law, my cousin, and make him the wali. No, this was something divinely appointed. This was something that Rasulullah had recognized in Mi'raj, and I'm making you, right, Bibi Masuma was telling those who she's coming in contact with, I'm making sure you understand this too. So it's not just the superficial version of wilayah, right? When we think about the idea of wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we just think about Ghadir and we stop, right? Yeah, his hand was raised and that's what we have to tell everybody. But that's not enough. Yes, that's the superficial version of it, sure. All the riwayat which mention that Imam Ali was the successor, sure, that's fine. But Bibi Masuma, based on her own level, her own maqam, the fact that she understands these deeper points, is now informing others about these deeper points as well too. It's not some historical issue or some political thing. No, this is something divine. This is something that Rasulullah himself saw in Mi'raj, and this is something that was written by Allah. And the last one that I'll share as well too, again coming from the same sort of chain of all the daughters of the Ahlul Bayt who had names of Fatima, eventually again comes back to Bibi Fatima alayhi salam from Rasulullah. Rasulullah narrates what? He says, Allah man mata ala hubbi ali Muhammad mata shahida. Don't you know that whoever dies having hubbi ali Muhammad, having love for the family of Muhammad, dies as a shaheed. So now this is the kind of peak of this understanding. It's not now a simple understanding of the historical matter of Ghadir. It's not also just having some fada'il in your mind as well too. Right? I have fada'il of Imam Ali. I know his name was written on doors and curtains and all these other things in Mi'raj. Well, it's nice to know, right? It's cool for not a hedri, but that's about it. But am I going to put that in action? How do you get people to put that in action? Sometimes you have to give them this kind of information. Sometimes, I guess the women too, around her time have to be pushed and told, yes, whoever dies with this true love of Ali Muhammad, they die as shaheed. It's not about going to the battlefield and doing all these other things. Yes, the women of that time who are not going to go out and die in a battlefield, Bibi Masuma is also letting the women of that time know, yes, if you have love for Ali Muhammad, true love, right? Not fake superficial love, not pretend love, real love that carries on and turns into action, then you do become raised as a shaheed as well. Right? Because you can imagine how, when you think about the idea of shahada, back then, most of them are going to think, okay, shahada means going on the battlefield. So they might say, I don't think they used those words back then, but this is misogynistic and chauvinistic, how come only men become shuhada? Well, this seems like something very good to bring up to somebody, right? Especially to women back then, to say, no, this is not the only way you become shaheed. Right? Shahada is not just going out in a battlefield. Anytime somebody truly witnesses the maqam and the station, the daraja of the Ahlul Bayt, of Ali Muhammad, then this is what happens. They truly die and become a shaheed. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So as we said, the point of us mentioning her as a narrator, narrating riwayat, it doesn't really sound like much when you say that. Okay, this person narrated a hadith. Okay, a lot of people do that, right? You tell me a story, I go tell somebody else. Does that mean that I'm a great individual? No. What's the big deal about that? Many other individuals have been narrating, right? For centuries, they've been narrating the riwayat of Ahlul Bayt. We don't have a special day for them. We're not going to perform ziyarah of them. Ahlul Bayt aren't saying, go do ziyarah of them and Jannah is wajib for you. We don't have anything like that. But, we have other women who are also narrating similar things too. Okay, well, what's so important about this? And like we said, what's the difference between the Ahlul Bayt and other individuals? They're also mentioning riwayat. And the Bibi Masuma is mentioning riwayat. So what's the difference over there between the other ma'asumeen, other imams, and Bibi Masuma? You see, there's a difference when it comes to the idea of defending and upholding wilayah, this authority, this maqam and hierarchy of the Ahlul Bayt. There's one way where individuals, like we mentioned, it's a historical thing, it's an emotional thing, all those things we're very familiar with. If we consider the individuals of that time, the Shias or the Muslims then, as we know, I'm not going to mention so many of these things, but many of the companions who had to deal with the Khawarij, who had to deal with those who were supporting the Abbasids or Umayyads of that time, they would engage them in conversation and debate. Sometimes they would do okay, and sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes they would make themselves look like a fool, and by making yourself look like a fool, if you're trying to defend the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt, who have you then made look a fool as well too? The Ahlul Bayt. If I come, right, some individual from Ahlul Sunnah is asking me about certain beliefs as me being a Shia, and I just give these very terrible, right, ineffective, deficient arguments, it's not just, the person's not just going to say, okay, it's only you that's the problem. They'll say, this is your deen, this is your madhab. What is that? These are the answers that your imams offered. What kind of answers are these? So when we don't defend wilayah properly, we're actually bringing down the maqam and the station of the Ahlul Bayt along with us too. We're bringing them down too. So when other individuals, whether it was that time, some of the companions, the quote-unquote students of the imams, who sometimes did good and sometimes did bad, they would go around and try to defend, and they'd sometimes make a fool of themselves, and therefore the imams would have to come and condemn them. Say, we didn't tell you you could do so-and-so things, to go and speak and debate and do X, Y, Z. But they would go out of what they considered love of the Ahlul Bayt. And sometimes we do the same thing as well too. We have a supposed idea of what it means to be a follower of the Ahlul Bayt, followers of the Imam, and we go and we say certain things and we do certain things, assuming that that's what Allah and the Ahlul Bayt would desire from us. That this is what's going to make the Imam of our time, Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala faraju sharif, happy. We have a good niyyah, some information, but not full information. The difference between that level of wilayah and somebody like Bibi Masuma is that when she is going around, she's not just making up stuff as she goes along. She's not inserting her own ideas and her own opinions. She's not letting her ego get the best of her and say, I'll go defend the Ahlul Bayt however I want. No, when I give you information from the Ahlul Bayt, as Bibi Masuma did over and over again, I'm going to make sure it follows this proper chain, that all of the members of the Ahlul Bayt, every single Fatima that's a daughter of the Imams. I'll take it all the way back till it gets to Rasulullah, and then I'll give that information to you. All I am, and this is what a true follower of Wilayah does, all I am is a wasila. I'm just a medium. My ego is removed from the equation. I'm not here to teach you because I have some level of knowledge. I'm not here because I'm some great alim, or in her case, alima. No. I am here just to present to you and deliver what has been said by the Ahlul Bayt. That's it. That's what a defender of Wilayah does. Their ego is completely taken out of the equation, and they just become a vessel, a medium, a wasila for the Ahlul Bayt. That's it. So this is where becoming a rawi is very important. Now, the Imams, they have a different jurisdiction altogether. The Imams can add in, quote unquote, their own information, of course, because they're the Imams. They have that haqq, they have that right. Sometimes they'll narrate all the way back from their grandfathers, from Rasulullah. They can do that. And sometimes they can say, look, this is our qawl, this is my opinion on something, which is obviously there's no difference between any of them. But when you're not one of the 14 ma'asumeen, you don't have that haqq, you don't have that right. Everything that you do has to be checked and made sure it goes through the system of wilayah. I won't make a move unless my imam says so. I'm not going to do anything until I get their ijazah, their permission, their blessings. This is the way that the true followers of the Ahlul Bayt were back then, and this is what you'll see with the true follower of the Ahlul Bayt right now. The only time they make any move forward is if they know that they have this chain of wilayah and succession in their minds. If not, then they refuse to do anything. Let me share a story with you about Ayatollah Jawadi Amli, if you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ayatollah Jawadi, hafidhullah, right, very famous alim in Qom, I'm sure most of you know. He narrates this himself, that when he was first beginning his Hawza studies, when he was in his own hometown of Amul, with his teacher, who I believe his name was Ayatollah Muhammad Taqi Amuli, or something like that. When he had finished his basic introductory studies, now just like many other people would do, if you were in the Hawza, whatever place you were, right? Most of you know the Hawza, the seminaries are not just Qom and Najaf. Every single city, pretty much every single province has their own school, right? Shiraz has its own, Tehran has its own, Karbala has its own, Najaf. Every place, every province has their own sort of school. Sometimes a person, right, they start their studies there from when they're young, and they just continue on. Most of them have in their mind that I'm going to either go to Najaf or Qom, right? I have to go to Ivy League pretty much, right? That's what most students have in their mind. So Ayatollah Jawadi obviously wants to follow that same track too. Now, if it were me with my ego and my arrogance, in that same situation, I finish my intro studies, okay, I'm going to go off into whatever school makes sense for me. I don't need to ask any, okay, I'll do consulting. I'll ask, give me your opinion, which I did before I left. Should I go to Najaf? Should I go to Qom? Should I go to Sham, right? They had a house over there. They still do, obviously, before what Daesh had done to the country. Right? Where should I go? So I sought advice. At the end of the day, I'm the one who made the decision, right? Because my ego was involved in this. But you see, somebody like Ayatollah Jawadi, even in his youth, he had every right to say, I'm going to go to Qom or Najaf, I'll make the decision. What does he do? He goes to his teacher and he says, I have a desire to go to Qom to continue studies. Do you give me ijazah or not? Do you give me ijazah to go to Qom or not? And this is not just some superficial takalluf or ta'aruf that some people kind of do. No. When it's ulama like this, and they still have this behavior right now, this continues on. They're asking in the sense that if my teacher tells me no, then no, I'm not going to do it. Of course, his teacher did give him permission. The idea of going to your teacher, asking for this permission, you'll see this is a clear difference between many other scholars. Some speakers, scholars, they kind of go off their rogues, rebels, they kind of go and do everything on their own. No sort of silsala, no tariqah, no teacher to kind of back up what they're doing or saying. Others, and that's why you see in the books of the ulama, why do they mention their teachers? They mention that for a reason, to say that this is not my doing. This work that you see in front of you, I didn't do this. This is all of the direct results and effect of my teachers, not me. So they make sure I studied with so-and-so teacher, this book. So-and-so teacher, this book. So-and-so teacher, this book. And they mention these things. They want to show you that, look, this chain of wilayah, this is what it means. This is what it's about. We don't do these things on our own. So you see that same example lives within our ulama now. Right? And you see some people still have that sort of spirit in them as well, where they refuse to make a decision unless they can see that this is something that follows that same sort of chain as well. Before we end for tonight, there's one other point that I wanted to share, which really highlights the maqam and station of Bibi Masuma. And I just want to share first, of course, the famous riwayah from the 8th Imam, Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu wassalam. Where a companion comes, he's with his companion Sa'ad, and he says, Ya Sa'ad, عندكم قبر منا. Sa'ad was from Qum. He says, there's a grave, right, that you know of this sort of grave. He says, Ya فدتك نفسي تقصد قبر فاطمة بنت موسى بن جعفر عليه السلام. Says, do you mean the qabr of your sister Fatima? Is that the grave that you're trying to get me to think about right now? And he says, Na'am, man zaraha arifan bihaqqiha falahul jannah. And this is the shart and condition that all of us know as well too. It's not just reciting this ziyarat nama and these lines that make Jannah wajib for us, right? For any of the personalities, especially for Bibi Masuma. That's not it. The Imam, just like all the other ziyarat that we recite too, they say, yes, Jannah becomes wajib if you have ma'rifah of their haqq, of their right and the level of reality that they had and they possessed. What does that mean for us? Do we understand, as we just tried to illustrate at least one dimension of tonight, do we understand how she really was a defender of wilayah or not? Do we understand the sort of maqam that she has that no one else has in that station? And just to highlight that point, I'll share with you just some lines of the ziyarah that's been narrated by the 8th Imam for her. And I challenge you, these same points about her ziyarah, you will not find in anyone else's ziyarah. Not even the Imams, you don't find these sort of ideas. Many of the other ziyarat that we recite, we start right up, sometimes it's a dua that we begin with, Allahumma XYZ. Sometimes we say, like ziyarah as-salamu ala waritha Adam. Right? So it's talking about Imam Hussein the whole time. We call him as a warith of Adam and the other prophets. In other ziyarat, we just start right away. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah or ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. We just start right away. But that's not how you start with Bibi Masuma. When you go even before mentioning her and reciting her ziyarah, the muqaddamah, the prerequisite in our books, according to the 8th Imam, is that you start with the tasbih of Bibi Fatima. That's what's reported first. Is that you start with your 34 times Allahu Akbar, 33 times Alhamdulillah, 33 times Subhanallah. Where else do you see that somebody has a prerequisite before you do their ziyarah of reciting tasbih of Bibi Fatima? Perhaps, maybe this is just to show that she is an extension and a connection of Bibi Fatima as well. And even after that, instead of after that, the tasbih that we recite, even there, we don't just start sending salam to her right away too. The prophets, the anbiya, they get a salam first, right? We start with the salam to, right? Salam Adam and Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, all of them, we send salams to them first. Then, finally, when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt, right? Again, this is before we even mention Bibi Masuma. Instead of normally where you might find in other riwayah, in other ziyarat, where you might just kind of send a salam ala Rasulullah or something like that, in the ziyarah of Bibi Masuma in Qum, when you're finished sending a third-person salam to the prophets, like salam ala Adam, then when you get to Rasulullah, you say Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Yani what? That you are as if you are right in front of them and they are present in that qabr, in that grave, in that haram, and you are sending a salam right to them. And the ulama say that when you are reciting the ziyarah Bibi Masuma, it's as if you're doing the ziyarah of every single member of the Ahlul Bayt as well too. No other ziyarah do you have this where you're addressing all the ma'asumeen in this way. That you go through the 14 ma'asumeen, sending their ziyarah first. After that, then finally, then you are able to address Ya Fatima. Then you can address Bibi Fatima. And when you do, and I encourage you all, if you haven't gone for ziyarah in Qum and if you've never read it, read this ziyarah and see the lines which are exclusive to her that nobody else has been given. I'll just share one while we end. One line towards the end says, this is where we now start after recounting her fada'il. Then we say, Ya Fatima, addressing her, Ishfa'ili fil Jannah. do shafa'ah for me in Jannah. فَإِنَّ لَكِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ شَأْنَ مِنَ الشَّأْنِ. Because you have a maqam, you have a station, you have a certain honor about you that no one else has. Right there in the ziyarah coming from the 8th Imam. No one else has this in their ziyarah. There's something about this, right? Of a personality like this, when they're so attached to the Ahlul Bayt, they're so attached to that system of wilayah that no decision is made without the permission of the Imam. This is why ulama say, right? We know very famously that Bibi Masuma, she did not get married. Right? She was of age, she could have. But the ulama tell us that the most likely reason why she did not get married is simple. Because she said, how am I going to get married when my brother is not here to give me ijazah? If my brother, my imam, is not going to give me ijazah and permission, then I can't get married. Now, you and I know very well that a nikah sunnati, right? Nikah is the highest of the mustahabat, almost that it's wajib. Why would anybody need the permission of an imam to go and get married? No, you don't need that. Well, this is not a normal level of wilayah. This is not a normal personality. She says, I'm not going to get married if my brother is not here to give me ijazah. She has the right to go and get married on her own. Of course she can. But when you have this kind of personality, you don't do anything, even for your personal life. Everything has to happen through the Ahlul Bayt. Everything has to go through your imam. We remember the difficulties that she went through in her last few moments are not the most difficult masa'ib in her life, as she was spending that time moving towards and trying to meet her imam, trying to meet her brother. Right? This is about a year after her brother was forcibly taken away by Ma'mun, la'natullah alayh. Then she had made her journey along with many of her family members, her brothers and others. They got separated, they went to different areas, they were attacked. Many things happened on that journey. But her sights were set on her imam and she was going after him. She knew that my imam needs me. My imam needs my protection. He needs me to defend him. My duty is towards him. I have to go run to my imam. But that's not the most difficult thing. The most difficult part of her life was most likely when she was very young. We know that her father, Imam al-Kadhim, was also taken away from her when she was very young, only a few years old. Right? Some narrations say 5, 6, 7 years old. She's a young girl, and she sees her father being forcibly taken from the house, and she's never able to see him again. But she doesn't know this. The riwayat say that Bibi Masuma, as a young girl, they say that some nights she would just go and sleep in the courtyard outside there. And when the Khuddam, the servants of the house, would come outside and tell her, please, come and sleep inside. Why are you out here in this weather? You shouldn't be out here at night. Come inside and sleep. She says, I'm just waiting for my Baba to come back. I want to be the first one to greet him. I miss my Baba so much. I want to be the first one to see him when he gets back. Or I'm even waiting for the news, somebody to bring me the news that my father is coming back soon. This is what I'm waiting for. Imagine her with this hope in her heart. And the one time now, someone comes to the door, she thinks it's her father. And when that messenger comes inside and tells her, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, she wasn't even able to meet her father before Imam al-Kadhim had met his demise. What a difficult part of the life of Bibi Masuma. I don't know what is more difficult. Was it that she was not able to be with her father in his final moments? Was it that she was not able to be with Imam Rida in his final moments and that she had died before him according to many narrations? Is this more difficult, or is the bala of Sakina and Zainab more difficult than this? Was it difficult for Sakina to allow her father to go away like this, to give him ijazah, to get permission to send him away, and then finally to come back on Shami Ghariba and see that body on the battlefield without a head? And when Zainab sees her over there and says, Berti, what are you doing over here on this headless body? Why are you sleeping by the feet? And she says, Pupi Amma, I was just looking for a place to sleep, and my Baba was calling out to me at night saying, Bunayya, Ilayya, Ilayya. How did you know? How did you know there is no head on this body? Why aren't you sleeping on his chest? When I tried to sleep on his chest, it was destroyed from the stomping and the crushing that happened from the stampede of the horses. I didn't find any comfort there. That's why I'm laying by the feet of my father. अला लअनतुल्लाह अला क़ौमिज़ ज़ालिमीन वसयअलमुल्लज़ीना ज़लमू अय्य मुनक़लिबिन यनक़लिबून इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन रिज़न बिक़ज़ाइहि व तस्लीमन लिअम्री सल्लल्लाहु अला मुहम्मद व मुहम्मद।
मैं खाक पर सो जाऊंगी, मैं खाक पर सो जाऊंगी, हाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा। कहती हूँ कि चेहरा ही दिखा जाइए बाबा, मरने से मेरे पहले ही आ जाइए बाबा, पहलू में छुपाने को कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा, मैं खाक पर सो जाऊंगी, हाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने ने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा। बच्चे तो बहुत छोटे हुआ करते हैं बाबा, हर एक मुसीबत पे गिला करते हैं बाबा, मैं नाज उठाने को कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा, मैं खाक पर सो जाऊंगी, हाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा। सह लूंगी जो हाथों की लकीरों में लिखा है, जिंदा की अंधेरों का गिला किसने किया है, मैं शम में जलाने को कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा, मैं खाक पर सो जाऊंगी, हाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने कहती हूँ बाबा। बाबा मेरे बचपन का तकाजा तो नहीं था, ख्वाबों में खिलौने थे, जनाजा तो नहीं था, गोदी में खिलाने को कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा, मैं खाक पर सो जाऊंगी, हाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने कहती हूँ बाबा। बाबा मेरे जख्मों की दवा कौन करेगा, अब जान सकीना को भला कौन कहेगा पहलू में छुपाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा मैं खाक पर सो जाऊंगी, हाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा सीने पे सुलाने को, कहाँ कहती हूँ बाबा। अल-फातिहा।
अस्सलामु अलैका या रसूलल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या अमीर अल-मोमिनीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या फातिमतुज़ ज़हरा सय्यदतुन निसाइल आलमीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या हसन अल-मुज्तबा, अस्सलामु अलैका या अबा अब्दुल्लाह अल-हुसैन व अला तिस्अतिल मासूमिन मिन ज़ुर्रियतिक अली इब्न अल-हुसैन व मुहम्मद इब्न अली व जाफ़र इब्न मुहम्मद व मूसा इब्न जाफ़र व अली इब्न मूसा व मुहम्मद इब्न अली व अली इब्न मुहम्मद व हसन इब्न अली व हुज्जत इब्न हसन अज्जलल्लाहु तआला फरजक व सहरल्लाहु तआला मखरजक व ज़हूरक व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहु। अल्लाहुम्मा कुन लिवलियिकल हुज्जत इब्न हसन अलैहि व अला आबाई في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.